If you do preacher curls with an easy bar, then you're going to want to watch this because I also used to use an easy bar. And, preacher curls are a great exercise. They have length and bias resistance profile. They isolate the biceps. They're very stable. They have good progressive overload potential. Although there is some flaws with using an easy bar, like, for example, forearm pain, which you might have, which we'll get into later. And it's just an easy little exercise switch that you can make that can make a big difference in your bicep growth. My name is Naveed, and I used to be super skinny, and I put over 6 inches onto my arms. And when I used to do easy bar preacher curls, I used to get this like forearm pain kind of in my like ulna, like on the side of my forearm. And apparently this is like a super common issue. I've heard from like tons of people that they have this, and chances are you might have this too. And also like wrist pain or elbow pain. And it's kind of crazy how this is such a common issue, yet no one seems to really know why this occurs. And everyone just says like, oh, take a break from it, or like, oh, your wrist extensors need to be stronger, or like stop gripping it as hard or whatever. But really, I'm gonna explain why you get those kind of pains and why you're not fully targeting your biceps with the easy bar. And the thing is, most people don't have enough external rotation to keep their arms fully externally rotated and their forearm perpendicular to the pad during the movement. So what this means is basically when most people do it, the like ditch of their elbow is not pointed straight up. It's kind of pointed inward, especially toward the bottom. If you notice, your arms start to internally rotate a bit. And what that's doing is it's putting tension through your elbow joint laterally in a direction that it's not supposed to bend. And if you're constantly moving a joint, bending it, flexing, extending it through a position where there's force in it, like a lateral direction where it's not supposed to bend, then you're going to start running into issues. And that's kind of why people have like forearm pain from preacher curls. And now that I started doing the dumbbell version, single arm, I haven't had any issues with it. No forearm pain, no wrist pain. And not only does the problem lie within the fact that the easy bars make your hands sort of in an inward angle, which is making you internally rotate, but also the fact that you're doing both arms at the same time. And like I said, you want to keep them both like perfectly externally rotated, as in like so your arms are facing upward, right, and not going like to the inside. And most people just don't have that external rotation ability, especially with both arms straight in front of them. So that's why I like the dumbbell version, because you can kind of turn away and just do one arm at a time. And that way that allows you to make sure that arm is externally rotated. Just because especially for people who work out a lot and lift, they tend to get pretty compressed and they lose the ability to externally rotate. And so that's why a lot of people compensate when they're doing the easy bar variation. And also when you're using the easy bar, you can kind of like push into the bar like inward to create more stability just to get the weight up. And I feel like a lot of times people are kind of just ego lifting with the easy bar. But when you're using the dumbbell, single arm, there's no way, like you can't push inward. You have to stay perfectly like straight and in line. And the only like direction that you can produce force is upward. Or I guess you know what I mean, like in terms of elbow flexion. But with the easy bar, you can literally push like into internal rotation into the bar with both your hands because it's a fixed bar, right? You can like push inward. And that's going to help you create more force just to get the weight up, but not actually putting the tension on your biceps. Like I remember when I used to do it and I had forearm pain, I used to just push through it and not really think about it. And I feel like nobody out there really had a good explanation for like why I had this pain doing this exercise. So like, even if you do feel your biceps on it, still consider like if you're actually doing it right. And over the long term, it's probably not good to be putting that lateral force through your elbow repeatedly and just pushing through pain. But what I prefer and what I've started doing is a single arm dumbbell variation. Pretty simple. And basically the reason why this is better is because, first of all, since you're doing one arm, you can turn your body away. And that's going to allow you to get a little more external rotation on that one side to basically allow your forearm to be straight up perpendicular to the pad. And like I said before about, internally rotating, with a dumbbell, your arm can't really internally rotate because then it's just going to fall inward. Unlike with the easy bar, they can be internally rotated, but there's a bar to like support it, right? So it kind of forces you to stay upright. And I remember the first time I started doing this variation, I immediately, after like a few sets, felt my biceps way more. And I also feel like you can just sort of protract better on this and just overall stimulate your biceps way more without compensating and just moving away from point A to point B. By the way, if you want me to make you a fully customized workout plan to actually guarantee you get results, and also like some full guides on bulking and training and stuff like that, then click the link in the description. Now, the execution on this is pretty important. And first of all, you're probably going to want to go a bit lighter because this is, a lot harder and you're not using compensatory strategies like you were with the easy bar. So don't think about going too heavy for now. But basically, you're going to want to make sure that your shoulder, your elbow, and your hand are all sort of in a straight line. Like if I was standing right in front of you, I should see all those things in a straight line leading up to your shoulder. So you don't want what a lot of people I see do is when they're doing it, their elbow kind of comes inward but their hand is still going outward. But you don't want that. You want to keep everything in a straight line. And also think about pushing your elbow forward and like protracting, especially on the way up. And yeah, also obviously you don't want to use your grip too much, try not to squeeze it too much. Just have that be more passive. But yeah, really think about just keeping your arm more externally rotated and keeping your elbow in a straight line, not letting it sort of come in. Also, another advantage of doing this version is that you can kind of do some like assisted reps at the end with your other hand. That's kind of what I like to do. Like once I have failure, I do about 2 more where basically on the way up, I'll help a little bit with my other hand, and then I'll just leave it fully on the way down like by itself. And I'll do maybe like 2 of those. So that's kind of another little advantage. And the key with this is to not just think about lifting the weight straight up. It's more about actually thinking about like closing your elbow and like performing elbow flexion. And even though that might kind of sound like the same thing or look like the same thing on the outside, a lot of these form cues are more about kind of like just minuscule changes to where it makes you feel the muscle more, which at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to. So really just try to follow those form cues and just do it in a way that makes you feel your muscle. Like for me, I really like to push my hand out a lot and like externally rotate, and I really feel sort of my long head a lot more when I do that. Yeah, give it a try. It's just a simple little exercise swap you can make to just feel your biceps way more. And for me personally, I had no pain once I started doing this, and I used to get just the worst forearm pain before that. Like as soon as I'd put the bar down and let go, it would just like spaz out. But yeah, no pain with the dumbbell version. Yeah, that's all for this one. I'll see you later.